Okay,
Hi, Mark. Yeah, I just want to know, is everybody in the squad fit and healthy? Can you select a full strength side?
Yes, at this stage. Look, my knowledge of the subcontinent is that you can never, things happen overnight with stomachs and all that type of stuff. There have been one or two guys who have struggled to get the food down a bit and woken up in the morning with a couple of issues, but nothing serious, no major injury concerns. So yes, hopefully all goes well. We're selecting from a full squad.
Hloni.
Hi, Mark. This is Hloni from ENCA. A question with lots of points in it, but hopefully you can make sense of it. Just in terms of the bubble, I know you've spoken quite a bit about that, but what lessons have been learned from it? What feedback maybe can you give to Cricket South Africa in terms of this possibly being something for the future? And would you do it again? And has it been worth it to be able to finish the season?
Which bubble you're talking about in particular?
Like, sorry, no, just in general, just bubbles in general.
Yeah, look, I think in the beginning, it is something different. So you sort of get your mind geared into the fact that you have to go in and do it. As it gets a little bit longer, the breaks that we've had in between tours haven't been long, like maybe 5-6 days in between. It does start to get to you a bit. You spend a lot of time in your room alone. You can't get out to hotels. As I said before, while we're in the subcontinent, we're pretty much used to that, but things have been quite different. You get the same food day in, day out, which can be testing at times. Personally, I don't think it's sustainable from a financial and just a headspace point of view for players, for staff, for management. So the sooner, I suppose, the world can get over this pandemic, the better. It's just for everyone to keep moving along. I think it's been necessary to get the game of cricket up and running. So I think everyone understands that, but it doesn't make it easier. I think a few of the guys, especially the guys who've been in the IPL, they've spent probably 20 days. They're going to have spent like 20 days over the next sort of 3-4 months at home, which isn't healthy, especially if you've got a family, a wife, kids. But yeah, we're having to do as much as we can to get some cricket underway at the moment. So we all understand where we are, and hopefully, like I said, for the world, and not only for the game of cricket, it can end pretty soon.
Thanks, Bouch. Up next is Khalid H. Khan, Firdaus, and then Bazif Jabbar.
Mark, you have been to Pakistan before about 3 to 4 times, and every time you have played in the month of October. Now you're playing in January. End of January is coming up, and definitely the temperature is on the cooler side. Considering everything, what do you make of the conditions that you saw today over the last 3 days? And
yeah, look, I think it's a big thing. Not only is the weather a lot cooler, I think the conditions are completely different to what I've been in the past. You're getting luscious green outfields. The wickets in South Africa, where we're from, if it's colder, the wicket tends to play a lot slower. And I think we've probably seen that here as well. So we got here with something in mind with what we were going to get in the conditions. I think it's not as what we thought it was going to be. As I said, we spoke about reverse swing, having gone to the ground only recently because of security measures. We found that the outfield was very green and quite moist as well. So I don't know how big a weapon reverse swing is going to be. I certainly looked at the wickets, and judging by the way that Pakistan have selected their squad as well, with so many spinners, having looked at the wickets, I think it's definitely going to turn. So I think it's the conditions are going to be proper subcontinent conditions with, I don't think, a lot of assistance for seamers.
Firdaus, and then Bazif.
Hi, Mark. Just on that, having seen, I don't know if you saw the pitch, but presuming you have, what kind of team composition are you thinking of going in with, and do you think you might need more than one spinner?
Definitely more than one spinner. Like I said, we sort of came here thinking that the reverse swing is going to play a big role. And as I said, sometimes you get to conditions and you just look at them and go, okay, well, I don't think that this is going to happen. I think that this is going to happen. So we believe that we've got different options within our squad. I do think that which is a nice thing as well. We've got the mindset that we're not scared to go out there and try something different to what's happened in the past. You know, we can see very clearly by their selection of their squad, by the conditions in front of us, that they are going with a spin mindset. We have got guys here to be able to select to we believe is going to do a job in those conditions, especially in Karachi. That might change in Rawalpindi. But yeah, we've definitely come in with a mindset that, you know, if you want to win a series away from home, you've got to make a couple of brave calls. And I certainly am. I think the selectors and the team are going with that mindset into the game.
Hello, Mark. Basif Jabbar from cricket.pk. Mark, you did say that spinners play a key role here in Karachi. And so are we going to see Taresh Shamsi making his way into the lineup? And if so, then who's going to be on the bench, Changiri or Noke?
You'll see tomorrow. I think, yeah, I mean, look, we'll get to the ground tomorrow. You know, Tabraiz has been selected as an attacking, aggressive spinner. So if you get given the opportunity to give him a chance in spinning conditions, then why not? In saying that, you'll hear what our team is going to be tomorrow. There might be one or two surprises, there might not be. Let's wait and see.
Thanks, Baj. Up next is Ken, Pilasande, Muzamil, Asif, Telford, and then Brashna.
Mark, given what you've said about the conditions, if you don't play an attacking spinner, how else do you foresee getting 20 wickets? Are there other sort of avenues that you guys can explore, given you don't think there's going to be reverse swing?
Yeah, I think in general, I mean, on flat wickets, you want pace through the air. So I think we have got that covered. You know, you also need to balance it out with who's going to do a containing role. And I think we've got that covered as well. We've got an attacking option in the spin. So I think it's, you know, but whatever team you select, you know, there'll be a lot of sort of technical stuff and technical thought that goes into it. How are we going to pick up 20 wickets? You know, we're definitely not going to go into a game thinking, you know, we just want to contain. We want to be able to pick up 20 wickets as well in these conditions. So that's how we are thinking. You know, we're not going to die wondering in these conditions. I think the conditions of, like I said, you know, they look like they're preparing it for spin. So, you know, if you see a lot of spin in our setup, you know, then that's the way that we feel we're going to pick up 20 wickets, along with containing and being able to control a run rate. Yeah, so I mean, bottom line is, whoever you select, they've got to go out there and perform their role, and hopefully they can do that.
Pila, then Asif Musamil.
Thanks, Bogazi. Hi, Mark. You know, runs are always obviously important, but how important are they in terms of, you know, playing in the subcontinent, particularly in the first innings? I was watching the Sri Lanka and England series, and, you know, to be skittled out for 130, you sort of behind the game from the get-go. So how important are first inning runs, particularly in the subcontinent?
Very important. I think it's not rocket science. You know, the wickets here generally are pretty good for the first couple to 3 days. Once you start getting a bit of rough, the ball starts turning. And as we've seen in the subcontinent conditions, the game tends to speed up towards the end of the game. Whereas in our conditions, you know, the first day is quite difficult to bat. So yeah, I think we're well aware of what the challenges are as a batting unit. We have spoken about getting some good partnerships together, putting a challenge on how many hundreds we're looking to score in the series. So yeah, big innings first score will always be a bonus, because once you get that, you sort of get control of the game. And yeah, that's the most important part of the game, batting wise, in the subcontinent. If you can get a good first inning score, then you can be in control.
Hello, Mark. This is Muzammil Asif from ARY. A long time back in 2007 South Africa tour, a lot of things changed, like team players and conditions and everything. And one more thing, the roles have also changed. You toured last time as a player. Miss Paula also played as a player in 2007. I just want to ask that we are looking forward to some face-offs, like Babar Azam facing Rabada, Faf du Plessis facing Shaheen Shah Afridi. So is there any particular player you are targeting in this series?
No, I don't think so. To be honest, I mean, both sides are probably in that phase where they're busy rebuilding. You've got some very good guys, senior sort of players that have been around for a while. Bubba's one of them as well. So obviously we're aware of him. But in all fairness, you know, we look at ourselves and I suppose a bit of a cliche. We look at ourselves and we try to control what we can control. We know that we've got the firepower to make inroads into their players. But we've got to get our skills and our execution right on the day. And if we can put more emphasis on doing that, then we're going in the right direction. These wickets are good to bat on, you know, especially the first couple of days. So, you know, if a guy plays well, he's going to get good runs. There are some good players in the Pakistan side, but we've got some good bowlers as well. So I don't think there's any personal little duos that are in the back of our mind. I think the media will probably make up one or two of those, which I think is good for the game. If you want to match one or two players up, I think it just adds a bit of spice towards the series as well. I think there's a lot of people are very excited about this series, especially because there hasn't been a lot of cricket played in Pakistan over the last few years. So it's all gearing to be a good contest. But yeah, we haven't got any personal little battles against anyone. We're not sort of lining someone up. I think it's just more focusing on our executions and our plans at this stage.
Thanks, Telford.
How's it, Mike? South Africa were a more successful side in the subcontinent when you were playing compared to the last few series there. And I know that particularly in India, sometimes the conditions have been tweaked too far in India's favor. But is there something that's changed mentally about South Africa's approach playing in the subcontinent compared to when you were there? And you know, are you trying to instill some of the way you played in the subcontinent on them now?
I think we learned the tough way as well. I mean, we went through some hard lessons. I think of going back to Sri Lanka where we got beat badly there. I'm talking about when we were playing. So we sort of sat down there and we took a few lessons going forward. And I think, you know, we got into set up a team where we had a couple of senior batters, guys that played quite a lot of crickets. And I think that's where our success has come from. A lot of those guys had retired and the guys haven't spent a lot of time playing cricket in the subcontinent. And I think the more you come here, the better you get. And one or two of these guys have seen the bad side of the subcontinent before. And hopefully, you know, it's a bit of a challenge to try and change that now. I still don't think that the wickets are going to be as severe as what we saw in India on the latest sort of test team tour. I think they're going to be a little bit better to bat on. So yeah, the lessons would have been there in the past. We'll see now how. I mean, you can talk as much as you want, and we had some facilities in our warm-up practices where we really went overboard to prepare the guys for what we think they're going to face. So the work's been done. I think it's just the mental challenge now of getting out there and not overthinking things, not overclouding yourselves, and also playing with what's happened in the past. I think you've got to learn from what's happened in the past, but certainly going in to tomorrow's game, we've got to treat it as fresh and just try to get the guys to trust themselves and trust they've ticked all the boxes going into this game with regards to preparation.
Thank you.
Brashna, Lloyd, Shashmi, and then Craig.
Hello, Mark. This is Brashna Kasi. If you look at South Africa's recent test record, they have not played a single draw in the last 3 years, I think in 23 matches or so. So is that a coincidence or a team strategy to play for an outcome? If later, would you be applying the same strategy against Pakistan?
So couldn't you quite hear you? You asked if we're playing for an outcome.
No, I mean, South Africa, if you look at South Africa's record in the last 3 years, they haven't played for a draw, not once. All their matches have resulted in either a win or a loss. So is that a coincidence or a team strategy to play attacking cricket, you know, that yield an outcome? And if the latter, would South Africa be applying the same strategy against Pakistan?
Well, I can't answer for what's happened in the past because I wasn't there. Certainly while I've been in charge, you know, we go out there and we try to play to win. You know, but I think as Steve always said, you know, good teams or great teams, sometimes they're going to find themselves in tricky situations where they're going to have to fight out a draw. So I'm a realist. I understand that, you know, you get into a game and the first session, you're going to try and make inroads and try and play for a win. If you get yourselves into a bit of a tangle and you've got to fight out a draw, I think sometimes those are the hardest test matches to overcome as well. So certainly we'll be going out to try and get a result in favour of ourselves. If we find ourselves in a tricky situation and it's realistically not a game that we can win, then we'll certainly go and try and find a way to draw the match. It's a 2-match test series, so you know, if you get on the bad side of a toss or something like that, which is very possible in the subcontinent, and you can somehow find a way to draw the match and give yourself a chance to still win the series in the second game, then you must do that. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just maybe coincidence, but certainly, yeah, we'll be going out to try and win the first test. But yeah, we'll just take it day in and day out to see where we are and how we can get the end result to be as favorable as possible with regards to our team.
Thanks, Baj. Lloyd is up next.
How's it, Mark? Do you mind talking a little bit just about Kesh in particular? Obviously, didn't play a massive role against Sri Lanka, and that'll be very different now. How big a series is it for him individually? And just a little bit about that balance between attack and containing, and what we can expect from him in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, Kesh is hungry. He didn't, like, as you said, he didn't play. Well, he played, but I mean, he didn't bowl a lot against Sri Lanka, and that is for various reasons. I mean, the wicket wasn't really, it was more conducive to seam bowling. But yeah, so he's hungry to get stuck in and do a role and play a role. I think, you know, being our main spin bowler that's been playing over the last few years, he probably, with all respect to him, he didn't have the best tours of India. But we've worked on a couple of technical things with regards to his bowling. I think he's come on leaps and bounds. So I know that he's itching to get out there and you know, especially in these conditions where he knows, you know, he's going to be bowling a lot and potentially could have a series where he has a massive impact on a win. So yeah, I think he's looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing him bowl, especially with a couple of the technical changes that he's made. With regards to balancing it out, you know, in the subcontinent, you've got to be fairly patient with the way they go about things. There are going to be times where the wickets sort of seems a bit dead. Maybe the ball goes a bit softer. So you've got to mix up a bit of attack, and then, you know, sort of taking a bit of pride out and almost trying to contain for a couple of overs as well. I think that's just general test match pressure and cricket that probably gets highlighted a bit more in flat conditions in the subcontinent. So we believe that we've got the guys to be able to perform both roles. But certainly, I mean, if you look at the run rates in Pakistan, when we played, it's not 3.5, 4 runs and over like we've experienced now in South African conditions. You're probably looking at below 3, between 2.5 and 3. So if you can build pressure and batters feel like they're not going anywhere, that's always going to be a good sign for you. Usually what happens is a couple of wickets follow. So it's about trying to mix up a bit of patience and an aggressive mindset. Whenever you sort of see an opportunity to do that, you must.
Thanks.
Very quiet. Shall I go in the meantime?
Yeah, I'll go for it, guys. I don't know where
Craig Ray from Daily Maverick here. Mark, we've spoken a lot about batting and bowling. What about mentality? I mean, I spoke to Dean Elgar before the series, and he said he was a bit in two minds about it, and then he had to get himself into a place where he was ready for this tour. And I'm sure a lot of players have gone through their own self-discovery of you know, fire bubbles and going into hostile territory. So when you're looking at your selection tomorrow, how much of the current mentality of players is going to come into play in that selection?
Yeah, look, we've spoken about it. For me, I mean, I think it's a bit of a South African mindset that, you know, we always revert back to our seaming options. And it's understandable because that's what we get grown up to sort of think. And I think what we've tried to install in the players that, you know, don't be scared to try different options, especially in the warm-ups and the practices that we had. I encourage guys to make a few mistakes, because that's a place that you want to make a few mistakes to find out what your scoring options are, what different balls you can bowl. So we've encouraged guys to do that. From a mindset perspective, I think a lot can be driven by management, and I think that can be driven by selection as well. We're not going to come here and just look at conditions and say, well, we're used to selecting seamers to fulfill a role. If it looks like it's going to turn, and they're preparing wickets to turn, then we must just make the right selections and make the good cricket calls. And I think our whole management has got that sort of mindset as well. We've got guys who have played in subcontinent conditions before, so there's a lot of knowledge within our management setup as well. And I certainly encourage that open mindset rather than just going back to the norm. It's a 2-match series, so we can't go one down and then we have regrets. So maybe we should have played an extra spinner or this guy or that guy. We got to make a call right now, and it's a brave call, but that's the way that we want to play our cricket, and that's the mindset that you'll probably see going into towards tomorrow.
Thanks.
And the last 3 questions, Shashmi, Norman, and Kanyiso. Shashmi? Okay, we'll skip that and we'll go to Norman SF360.
Hello, Mark. I hope you're doing good. I just want to ask about recently, Quinton de Kock made a statement that in Asian conditions, they deliberately try to make the wickets that trouble the visiting sides. I mean, I just really want to ask, isn't the case same with the South African conditions and the other countries like New Zealand and Australia, that they deliberately make the wickets that trouble the visiting sides? So isn't it an even Steven pattern?
Look, I think in general, in when you got home conditions, I haven't gone out to any groundsman and asked him to prepare certain sort of wickets for different opposition. So, like I said, I can only speak for myself. I'm not sure what happens in different countries. I think in general, you probably have a feel where you want to play the games. Say for instance, like we played against Sri Lanka in the half felt, where we know the ball's going to probably seam around and bounce a bit. Would they struggle to play there rather than in the coastal areas of our country? Yes, probably. So we're not asking them to. We didn't ask them to doctor the wickets, but we knew that there might be a bit more pace and bounce there. So I think if we come to the subcontinent and we're used to the pace and the bounce and maybe a bit of seam movement, they probably won't send us to pitches or cities where they know that the wickets are pretty similar. They'll probably send us to places where the ball's going to turn square. So it's not doctoring, I don't think. I think it's more just being smart about where you're playing your opposition and choosing, maybe to try and drive home an advantage that you might see a weakness in your opposition with. So look, it's going to happen all the time. I'm all for it. I suppose that's what you've got home ground advantage for. You must use it. I suppose that's that may be the thinking behind them with their attack at the moment, which is fine. All going for it.
Thanks, Shashmi. We'll try with you one more time. I think your mic might still be muted. Okay, we'll move on to Kanyiso.
Good afternoon, Mark. You've seen a number of Pakistan sides before through your career, and they've always had this element of being very unpredictable. They've had a very solid, a very stable coaching structure that, to an extent, I feel that they're not as unpredictable anymore. But what's your take on how this current Pakistan team looks? Do you feel that they still have that element of surprise and unpredictability?
I think there's always an element of surprise. I think that they've got the sort of players that are extremely talented. I think in general, having spoken to quite a few of the past Pakistan players as well, if they get a solid structure and that can guide them in the right direction, then they're always going to be dangerous. Their management structure at the moment, they've got a lot of players in there. There's a lot of stability there. There's a lot of knowledge. It seems to be a good vibe that they've got at the moment in their setup. So yeah, we're expecting the best of Pakistan to come out. As I said, that they're a young side. They've got a lot of guys who haven't played a lot of Test cricket, so we can test them in that sort of department. But yeah, the unpredictability of Pakistan will always be there. I won't say moody cricketers, but certainly if they're up for a game, if we can get them doubting themselves, then we must do that. Can to our advantage. But yeah, bottom line is that the contest is between bat and ball, and if we can get going our way early on, I think it will be a big advantage for us.
Thank you.
The question from Shashmi, he's just texted it in the chat panel. The job of being a head coach and part of the support staff particularly gets more difficult during COVID-19 conditions. How do you keep the players both mentally and physically ready or stimulated?
Yeah, it's tough. It's quite difficult because a lot of the guys just spend quite a bit of time in their rooms. I think it was a lot easier when we were in Pretoria at Marini. The guys did a lot of outdoor activities. South Africans in general, they like to be outdoors, sitting around a fire, talking a lot of things, about a lot of different things, and just socializing. We haven't been able to do that over here, because of security measures, because of COVID measures. So there is a bit of concern from our side that, these bubbles continuously happening after each other, and the guys not spending time with families. As I said, personally, I feel it's not sustainable. But I do understand that there's a bigger picture to the whole thing as well. It is challenging from a management perspective, especially when you are in like a place like Pakistan where you can't get outside. But I think the players are getting quite close as well. So they're confiding in each other quite a bit. So if there are guys who are maybe feeling down, the players will try and help each other out and pull them into a room and maybe chat to them. And so I think the one thing, the positive about it is that our guys are spending a lot of good time together, and there's a lot of good friendships to form, and it's sort of a brother within the squads. It will continuously be a tough time for us, and not in, like I said, I mean, all around the world there's tough times happening with the pandemic. So, we're playing sports, we're still doing what we love to do. There's going to be sacrifices that we have to make. As management, we're going to have to try and look after that as well as we can. And it will always be a test.
And final question, Bouch, I got that via text. It's Quinton's 50th test match tomorrow. What would you like to say about him and about your observations on who he is as a player, as a cricketer, how he's grown over the last 50 tests, and also what you'd like to see improved, just from an all-round point of view as a cricketer / captain?
Yeah, look, Quinny's a special cricketer. I mean, we've seen the best of Quinny, and I think he's a type of guy that the opposition just hope that Quinny doesn't rock up and get into some good form, because he's a type of player that can take a game away from anyone, any opposition very, very quickly. Now, I think Quinny's a type of guy, like I said, who enjoys outdoors. So it's testing for him as well, being inside doors the entire time. Being a captain is just an extra that we've sort of added on to him. We're trying to help him out as much as we can in that department. So I'm very happy that he's taken on that role as well. I know it is tough at times, especially if your performances aren't exactly where you want them to be. But we can celebrate his 50th game tomorrow. I think it's a special occasion for any player. I know that Quinny it's just the start of his career. I think there's possibly another 100 games, 100 test matches in there for him personally. And hopefully we can get the best of Quinny in this particular series. As I said, it can only be a good sign for him as a person, as a captain, and also for the team Proteas as well going forward.